you were using a PC in the late 2000s, you probably remember your first time booting into Windows 7. The bright glowing star logo, the crystal clear login sound, and the classy aero interface that felt like the future. Released on October 22, 2009, Windows 7 was a major turning point for Microsoft. After the controversial release of Windows Vista, many users lost trust in Microsoft. However, when Windows 7 came around, within 8 hours of its release, the pre-orders on Amazon had outsold all of Vista's total pre-orders, signaling a massive shift in public interest and trust. It was so successful to the point where many users today still consider it to be one of the greatest Windows operating systems ever made. But why? What is the reason behind Windows 7's success? To understand what made Windows 7 so successful, we have to start with the failures of its predecessor, Windows Vista. Vista launched in early 2007 and was a huge flop. It had heavy hardware requirements that many users' machines couldn't handle, leading to sluggish performance. More importantly, it suffered from driver compatibility issues, and Vista's user account control was overly aggressive, constantly bombarding users with pop-ups. Windows 7, though built on a similar architecture, tackled these issues. Windows 7 ran a lot better on the same hardware. Microsoft optimized the operating system's memory usage, startup processes, and graphical rendering. Windows 7 also introduced fundamental features that are still used today. Snap, that allowed users to easily resize windows side by side. Pin to taskbar offered instant access to apps, and Aero Peek that gave users quick view of the desktop without minimizing windows. These changes made Windows 7 feel smooth and made users feel like they had control over their operating system. Windows 7 also brought with it some of the most beloved built-in games in history of the platform. Classic games such as Chess Titans, Purple Place, and Minesweeper were beautifully designed and polished. They were also popular among kids, especially Purple Place, which was a game that I played a lot when I was a kid. Later versions, such as Windows 10 and 11, removed these games entirely and replaced them with apps that are bombarded with ads, such as the Microsoft Solitaire collection. And if you want to remove these ads, guess what? You gotta pay moolah. The shift from fun gaming experiences to commercially driven software made to earn money marked a huge step down for Windows operating system, disappointing many users. After Windows 7, Microsoft made a sharp turn with Windows 8, which tried to unify desktop and tablet experiences with the infamous Metro UI. It removed the start menu, added full-screen tiles, and left desktop users frustrated. Windows 10 tried to fix this by merging traditional and modern elements, but it also came with more extensive telemetry features that collected user data. By Windows 11, Microsoft doubled down on collecting user data, enforcing Microsoft accounts, forcing Copilot AI recall function, and stripping users of control. Its installation comes bundled with bloat software, making it extremely slow when you're using it long-term. In contrast, Windows 7 offered local accounts, minimal bloat, less data collection, and ran better on older hardware. It also featured what many consider to be the most beautiful aesthetic of the 21st century, frutiger aero. Although frutiger aero could be found as early as Windows XP, Windows 7 marked the peak of the aesthetic. For those who are unfamiliar with the term frutiger aero, it is a design language that features glossy gradients, transparent glass effects, glowing icons, and subtle animations. Coined by Sophie Lee after the default UI font frutiger and the aero visual style, this look became iconic across the late 2000s. This aesthetic combined technology with nature, giving us an optimistic view of the future, which is why it became more of an expression than an aesthetic. It symbolized an era where technology felt inviting and organic. For people that grew up around that era, including me, frutiger aero became deeply nostalgic. Despite its beauty and popularity, by the time Windows 8 came around, Microsoft has scrapped aero completely in favor of flat, boxy Metro interface designed for mobile devices. This shift was then followed up by the rest of the tech world, including the release of iOS 7, which also featured flat design. The flat minimalism design lacked personality, expressionism, and often felt lifeless. Despite this, it became the prominent UI design philosophy that the world still uses today. With frutiger aero being scrapped, many users felt disappointed that we never got the future that we were promised, a world where nature and technology blended together seamlessly. But with the power of social media, frutiger aero started resurfacing recently through fan-made themes, aesthetic compilations, music compilations, and video edits, reminding us that the internet was once a vibrant, hopeful place instead of the lifeless, brain-rot mess it is today. As Microsoft moved deeper into cloud services, telemetry, ads, and user control, more users began to push back. Dissatisfied users ranted about the recent Windows operating systems, with many calling it spyware. This frustration drove a wave of people away from Windows and towards Linux, which offered more privacy and control over their operating system. Ultimately, Windows 7 represents a time when Microsoft still valued user choice, software stability, and interface expressionism, qualities that seem to have faded in the era of brain rot, doom scrolling, and ad-driven softwares. So, is it still possible to use Windows 7 today? The answer is yes and no. With the support of Windows 7 ending in 2020, it became vulnerable to malware and other security risks. It is also incompatible with a lot of modern hardware, and a lot of modern software has also dropped support for it. As a Windows 7 lover, I tried to find alternatives such as porting Windows 7 games into Windows 11, or making my Arch Linux look like Windows 7. But it just feels different. In the end, Windows 7 is a legendary operating system that is irreplaceable. It perfected what Vista couldn't, introduced modern features that we still use today, and wrapped it all in a beautiful, responsive, and reliable package. It respected users' choices while also offering joy through aesthetics and built-in games. Windows 7 may no longer be officially supported by Microsoft, but in the heart of millions, Windows 7 remained the gold standard for Windows operating systems, the GOAT of all Windows.